Good morning. We call ourselves to worship this morning with the guiding principles of the Appalachia Service Project. Please rise in body or spirit and join in our call to worship. Let us begin. We believe that each person is a child of God imbued with dignity and worth.
We accept people right where they are and just the way that they are.
We believe that all people should be able to live in affordable, safe, and sanitary housing.
We are committed to witness through the good quality of our work and careful stewardship of our resources.
We believe God calls people to serve others as volunteer partners in ministry, and we will encourage their growth in faith as they answer this call. Where the Appalachia Service Project is involved in local communities, we will encourage, affirm, and support the fair and just treatment of people. We believe in ministering in the spirit of love, acceptance, and hopefulness. Let us worship God.
Fill my cup, let it overflow. Fill my cup, let it overflow. Fill my cup, let it overflow. Let it overflow with love. Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now I found. Was blind, but now I see. Fill my cup, let it overflow. Fill my cup, let it overflow. Fill my cup, let it overflow. Let it overflow with love. Jesus loves me, this I know, for the Bible tells me so. Little ones to him belong, they are weak, but he is strong. Fill my cup, let it overflow. Fill my cup, let it overflow. Fill my cup, let it overflow. Let it overflow with love.
The Lord be with you. If you will, please go ahead and be seated. Welcome to worship this morning, whether you are worshiping here in the sanctuary with us, whether you are streaming with us, or joining us later this evening at our satellite churches. We are delighted that you have joined us for this Appalachia Service Project worship that celebrates this team that went down to Guyan Valley, West Virginia, and spent a week making homes warmer, safer, and drier. We are here to celebrate that time with you, tell our stories, show our pictures, and help you to remember that you make this possible. So during our time of worship, if you will, please use your prayer cards to share your joys and concerns, and we will use those during the week with our prayer team. If you also sign your attendance pads and make sure that we know that you are here, that would be great as well. So one of the things we want to make sure that we do right away is that we introduce this big rowdy crowd. So if you guys will go ahead and line up, then we will get our introductions happening. So when we go down to wherever we go, you know that the Appalachian Service Project serves 5 states. So it's Kentucky, Tennessee, North Carolina, Virginia, and West Virginia. And so wherever we go to a center, which is most often a school. This year we went to an all year round center. So this is Appalachia serves, ASP serves in this county all year long. And so we were really actually a little bit spoiled this year because we had bunk beds. Yeah, and we weren't sleeping on the gym floor, so we were really excited about that. But when we get to our center, we usually are joining another group. Sometimes it's another few groups from different places in the country. This year it was from Wisconsin. And so we always have to introduce ourselves to that other group and to the staff. So we did kind of this free form where we had everybody group up into small little groups and did a little bit something different to introduce ourselves. That wasn't going to work really well today. So we decided that we were going to introduce ourselves in our buddies. So everybody is assigned a buddy for the week and hopefully even beyond. Oftentimes that is somebody who's been on ASP is buddied up with somebody who has never been on ASP so that they can help one another throughout the week to know exactly what this whole thing is all about. And just check in with one another and make sure that everybody's doing okay, because it's a big week with a lot of emotions and a lot of experiences. So we all need a buddy. So that's how we're going to introduce ourselves today.
This is Kauai, and she worked so hard on painting cabinets.
This is Elise, and she did a really great job with flooring.
This is Mariella, and she painted all week long.
This is Natalie, and she did siding.
This is Molly, and she helped paint birdhouses for our homeowner.
This is Cameron, and she painted a lot of trim.
This is TJ, and he went under a house.
This is Will, and he went on top of a house.
This is my amazing buddy Hannah, and she stained, trimmed, and put down flooring.
So this is my buddy Michael, and he hung drywall and put in floors.
This is Avery, and she worked on a roof. This is Karina, and she textured a ceiling.
This is Tom, and he went under a porch.
This is Lucas, and he went on top of a house.
This is Carly, and she did a great job doing a railing and a stairway.
This is Cooper, and he did soffit and fascia on a roof.
This is Emma, and she did a great job at roofing.
This is Drew, and he did a lot of sanding.
This is my buddy Lucas, and he went crazy on some flooring.
This is my buddy Bobby, and he carried his crew by doing flooring.
This is my buddy Jay, and he did a lot of encouraging in a loving way, and also some taskmaster business also in a loving way.
This is Kristen, and she did an awesome job always checking in with us, making sure we both physically and mentally, emotionally in a good place.
This is my buddy Dan Bunker, who is a great encourager and leader, and also very good at making sure the van does not run out of gas. Unless I'm driving.
This is Drew Bolton, and he worked at 2 sites and did a lot of work on stairways.
This is Drew, and he did a stellar job roofing.
This is Sue Ellen, and she did a lot of painting.
This is Julie, and she did a lot of painting and painting and painting.
This is my buddy Penny, and she is my awesome buddy because she signed up at the last minute and was one of adult leaders, what we really need to make all of this happen. And she drove that van like nobody else can. Can you give it up for ASP 2019? It has been our tradition for years that we stand up and greet one another with the peace that comes from Jesus Christ. This is a deep and rich tradition, and I want you to still do that this morning, but I want you to do it in a little bit of a different way. If you would, stand up and greet one another with the word shalom, which is still all about peace. It's actually a very deep peace. So would you rise and greet your neighbors with shalom? Shalom. I want some of you.
Good morning. Last week during our stewardship moment, we learned about the CAP program, a program for youth to work and have like a camp-like setting for 6 weeks and learn and grow and have an awesome experience thanks to the generosity of this church. This week we're learning about the Appalachia Service Project, where we as a group went out into the Appalachians and served people from another region and helps to make their homes warmer, safer, and drier. As we go forth into this time of the stewardship campaign, let's have some time to deeply reflect and think about what our service can mean to this church, whether that's financially or through our services of action, or whatever ways that you do to create a positive impact on this community and in this church. So with that, reflect on that, and when it's time for our giving, please do what you can for the service of the church. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. My name is Bobby, and in just a second here, we're going to be watching our slideshow with all our pictures from our travels this summer. I made the slideshow, I forgot to mention. Julie asked me to just give a brief introduction, some clarifications about some things that might be confusing to people that didn't actually go on the trip. So I organized all the photos more or less into their individual crews so that we could see who was with who and who their homeowners were and what kind of stuff they were doing on each site. At one point during the week, we all went to City Hall and heard ghost stories from a local. So we'll see some photos of that. And lastly, and probably the most confusing, is at some point during the week, some young women in the group decided to start planking every day at random. So we'll have a couple images of people planking throughout the slideshow. Here we go.
children are invited to come up for the children's message.
Good morning. Thank you. Good morning. Good morning, everyone. It's so good to see you. Thank you for coming up and sitting with us and talking with us this morning. My name is Kristen, and I actually grew up in this church. I was a little kid at this church, too. And now I was so privileged to be able to go on a special trip with this church with my daughters. And this is my daughter, Karina, and she's in high school. And this is my other daughter, Mariella. She's in high school, too. And we all went on this special trip called ASP. And the main reason why we went on this trip was to help people. And we helped work on their houses, and we helped making those houses warmer, safer, and drier. But another really important part of the trip was learning more about ourselves and how to be better people. And one of the lessons that we had on our trip to ASP was learning how to be the peace. It was such an important message to us that they even put it on the backs of all of our shirts. Mariella, can you show them the shirt that says, "Be the peace"? And it has this beautiful picture of a dove. It was an important message to us throughout the week as we were on this trip. Does anybody have an idea of what it means to be the peace? Yes, David? To be peaceful, absolutely. Yes.
To make people live in peace and not just let them live if their house isn't warm enough or something, not just letting it stay cold in their house and helping them.
So helping people, absolutely. That's a big part of being the peace. Yes.
Being happy.
Being happy, absolutely. Anybody else have any other ideas? Yeah. To be cheerful for people who are upset. Yeah, these are all really good ideas. Well, we learned on our trip that God really wants us to be peacemakers in the world. Do you think that you could do some of those things that we talked about to be peacemakers in the world? Yeah, you think you could? Well, we definitely decided that that was something that was very important and that we could also really strive to bring peace and be peacemakers in the world. In fact, there's a special word in Hebrew that people use to wish peace to one another. And they greet each other with the word shalom. Can you say the word shalom? Shalom. And it not only meant that you were wishing peace to your friends and your family and to others, but also that you were wishing them all good things. And so you would say shalom to them, and it's part of being that peacemaker in our world. So maybe this week when you're at home or you're at play, you could wish someone shalom. Do you think you could do that? Yeah, all right, awesome. Let's say a prayer together with Karina.
Okay, so if you would fold your hands and close your eyes and repeat after me. Dear God, help us to be the peace every day. Help us to be kind to one another. Help us to be accepting of each other. And open our hearts to love each other. Amen.
God meets people right where they are, just the way they are. But that doesn't mean God is content leaving them there. Every person is a work in progress. God is helping them to learn and grow, mature, and make better decisions. In our scripture lesson this morning, we find David and Nabal in a standoff because one has needs and the other refuses to meet them. David plans revenge again until Abigail, Nabal's wife, steps up as a true peacemaker and helps all to understand the bigger picture and God's plan. Hear a portion of this story this morning that begins with the Hebrew blessing of peace. There was a man in Maon whose property was in Carmel. The man was very rich. He had 3,000 sheep and 1,000 goats. He was shearing his sheep in Carmel. Now the name of the man was Nabal, and the name of his wife Abigail. The woman was clever and beautiful, but the man was surly and mean. He was a Calebite. David heard in the wilderness that Nabal was shearing his sheep. So David sent 10 young men, and David said to the young man, "Go up to Carmel and go to Nabal, and greet him in my name. Thus you shall salute him. Peace be to you, and peace be to your house, and peace be to all that you have. I hear that you have shearers. Now your shepherds have been with us, and we did them no harm, and they missed nothing. All the time they were in Carmel. Ask your young man, and they will tell you. Therefore, let my young man find favor in your sight. For we have come on a feast day. Please give whatever you have at hand, and to your servants, to your son David." This is what the Spirit is saying to the church.
Thank you, Kauai. So every day at ASP, we sit down together for a lunch of peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. And we count ourselves blessed if the homeowner sits down with us and shares with us a sticky, smooshed sandwich, and then also participates with us in our lunch devotions. For years now, ASP has provided us with a field guide. Every single person gets one of these little booklets. And this guide has inside of it a devotion for every day. It has ASP's mission and vision and guiding principles, along with some information about poverty in the Appalachians, and even a handy-dandy ruler on the back of it, just in case you forgot your ruler, so that you can do what? Measure how many times? Measure twice and cut once. Yes, indeed. So this morning, we will share our experiences of the week, along with some reflections based on this field guide, so that you too can imagine that you have paused your hot day in the Appalachians and have a feast before you of a sticky peanut butter and jelly. So this summer, the theme, as we've already said, is Be the Peace. And that came from the book and the passage of 1 Samuel, chapter 25:6. This is a story of David, who is not in a peaceful setting. He'd been anointed the new king of Israel, but he had two major problems that were before him. Saul, the existing king, is still in control of the throne, and he was set on killing David. David was fortunate enough to have some men that were loyal to him, but they were vastly outnumbered by the king's soldiers, who were pursuing them all across the countryside. The men were hungry. Shelter and supplies were hard to come by in the inhospitable desert, and David's men still needed to eat. Now, there were some sheep flocks that were nearby, who were tended by some young shepherds. But David made sure that there was no harm to the sheep or to the shepherds, because he had been there himself at one point in time. Now, Nabal was the owner of the sheep, and he was a rich man. Nabal was preparing for a feast, and so David hoped that just perhaps he might be willing to spare some food and some supplies for his men. And so he sent a small group of men ahead, and he told them, "Greet Nabal in this way: peace be to you, and peace be to your house, and peace be to all that you have." Now, as we've already talked about, you know that shalom is the Hebrew word for peace. Shalom is not a simple peace. It is a sense of completeness. It not only means peace, but it also means prosperity. It communicates a feeling of wholeness and satisfaction, along with being safe and in good health. It's frequently used as a greeting and a blessing with affection upon a good friend or a family member. So it's intriguing that in the midst of his own turmoil and severe conflict, these are David's wishes for a complete stranger. As we serve in Appalachia, we often receive this greeting and blessing from the families that we go and work on their homes. These are families who are struggling to make ends meet, who are living in substandard housing and are often isolated from jobs and the convenience of accessible shopping, supplies, and services. But in the midst of all of that, they open their homes and they convey to us a sense of shalom. So this morning, we have some courageous youth who are willing to share their experiences of the Appalachian Service Project and reflect on how God moved within them, inspiring them to be the peace.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Big Body Tom, at least according to everybody that went on ASP. I was a proud member of Chugwater 2, which later became just Chugwater. We had some amazing homeowners. ASP is not a straightforward process, but more like a story that you write yourself. You know, I'm actually pretty proud of myself for coming up with that one. Going to ASP, I had absolutely no idea what to expect, but pretty quickly, I realized what it was going to entail. After arriving at our work site around an hour late because we drove past it twice but got lost, we got straight to work. This is, of course, after we met the dog named Wigglebutt. I did a few odd jobs here and there before I got assigned to kitchen cabinet duty with Mariella. We recabineted the whole kitchen. We took off the cabinets, we painted them, we waited for me to realize that we forgot to paint some of them. Then we painted those, then we put on hinges, then we realized we needed to get new hinges, so we put on those hinges, and then we put the cabinets up, and then we painted around the cabinets, and then we were done. One of the better things that I did, according to my crew leader, Molly, was I had to stand on a chair and move this little train sort of thing on a bar to put into a sliding door. But I had to stand on a chair, so I was like this the whole 5 minutes we were doing it, and it was rough, but we got it up. My favorite job on ASP was probably one that you might be surprised at. It was actually moving gravel. There were like five or six of us that were putting around our house so it wouldn't move, and we doing a pretty good job until we got to the front, and there's a little porch, and there's an opening that's about this high, and we needed somebody to go underneath and put gravel. And since my group just loved me so much, they decided to pick me, and I have a big head, so I was worried that it was gonna get stuck. So I crawled underneath, and it was fine, and then I was putting gravel on my back, taking a shovel and moving it, and I looked out, and it was just absolutely beautiful, but you wouldn't expect it. There were spiders everywhere. It's a claustrophobic space, but you could see the mountains and the sky, and it was just beautiful. If you are like me, and you've never been on ASP before, you don't really know what you do. You actually play a lot of games when you're not doing work, and we used a kendama, which, if you have no idea what it is, it's a little stick with it's like a cross, and there's a ball on it, and you have to flip the ball onto the stick, and it's very hard. But we played with it for a half an hour straight, and it was one of the best parts of ASP. Whenever people see me, I go, ooh, because I get excited and I like to make noises. And so now when people see me, they don't even say hi, they just go, whoa. So that's my nickname, apparently. ASP was great. We met some nice people from Wisconsin and some people that were not so nice, but we're not going to talk about that. And another game we played was euchre, and I had never played euchre before, so people got a little upset at me at first. But once I learned, me and Sue Ellen became partners, and we We got on a roll, and then Bobby and Karina had to stop that. But I apologize to everyone whose peace I disturbed while playing euchre.
Lord, prepare me to be a sanctuary, pure and holy, tried and true. With thanksgiving, I'll be a living sanctuary for you.
Hello, everyone. My name is Will Fulton, and this last summer made my 4th year of ASP. Although there were some bumps in the road, which is ASP tradition, I'd say that this year was probably my favorite. It wasn't the staff or the center that made this week great, and it wasn't the jobs or the house. It was the group of people from this church that we brought and the relationships I built and strengthened that made this week my favorite. One thing that we do every year on ASP is a buddy system. In which an ASP veteran is paired with a rookie. Normally people on ASP will keep their buddies for multiple years in a row, but my experience was different. I've had a different buddy every single year. I actually like this because it gives me the opportunity to meet and connect with someone new every year. This year I had the pleasure of having TJ as my buddy. We bonded through our shared music likings, and I even taught him a thing or two on the piano. But TJ wasn't the only relationship I built this summer. Through TJ, I got to meet his sister, Kauai, Tom, and Drew. Although my work crew didn't have any of my closest friends on the trip, Lucas, Bobby, or Michael, I was happy to be able to build my friendships with Audrey, Hannah, Molly, Auntie Kay, Jay, and Lieutenant Dan. I also got to get closer with Mariella, the other Drew, and the other Lucas. Our work site was a lot of finishing jobs, including floors, trim, and painting. Sometimes it would seem like there wasn't enough jobs for the amount of people there, but that would leave time for people to bond with the family we were working for. How I would go about doing that would be if I found myself needing an extra hand to do something, I would ask one of the 2 little girls at the home. I remember the first time I asked Maddie at the start of the week to hold something for me, and her simple answer of no. But by the end of the week, they were following me around, basically asking for jobs. So I was not only building relationships with my peers from FUMC, but also with the homeowners. This summer made the third year in a row of having Jay as my crew leader. And as I said before, there would be times when people wouldn't have much to do, and that can be irritating because everyone wants to contribute. Jay is always willing to teach someone new or find a job for someone to do. The theme of this summer was Be the Peace, and I really saw Jay being the peace at the end of the week during the cleaning party. We got back late from our work site, and all I wanted to do was shower. However, our crew's job was cleaning the bathrooms. So we did just that. We cleaned it. Or so we thought. The staff came in and inspected and gave us more jobs to do, so we did them. Then they came again, and the jobs kept coming. At this point, I was very irritated, but being the laid-back guy he is, Jay was able to lighten the mood with his humor, just as he has done many times on a stressful work site. So thank you, Jay, for being a peacemaker and a great crew leader these past 3 years. And thank you, all of you, for making this all possible. This week every summer is a very important part of my life and a great experience. And it seems like each year I have more fun than I did on the last.
Good morning. My name is Cameron, and I was on the crew's story during ASP. Going on ASP was one of the most amazing and eye-opening experiences that I've ever had. Going down to Guyan Valley, West Virginia, and really facing the reality of poverty in our world was a very memorable experience for me. This year, the theme of our trip was Be the Peace. When you go on trips like these and meet people who have an everyday encounter with severe poverty, may need the peace to come into their life more than we might even realize. My homeowner's name was Michael. Michael was one of the sweetest people that I have ever met in a long, long time. He was so welcoming and very appreciative of us coming and helping make his home warmer, safer, and drier. For me, it was hard seeing such a sweet man have to be in the situation he was in, and that made me even more determined to help him more as possibly as I could. Even if I was helping someone hold something, painting, or even just talking to Michael about how his day was, I knew that my whole crew and I were going to make a huge difference in his life. The last day of working on his house was when the effect of how happy we all made Michael really sunk in. With this, I would like to share my God moment of the trip with you. So we were going to the store to get a few things like curtains and a few more pieces to finish up the house, like to the best of our abilities. And Carly comes about dashing around the corner with a wall decor, and she held it up and she said, "It says blessed on it." And we were like, okay. And she goes, "Michael's always telling us how blessed he feels, and I think that this would make the room that much more special." So we thought about it, and then we asked Julie. So Julie allowed us to get it, and we got Michael's permission to put it back up at the house. When we were working on the house, me, Julie, and Molly were all sitting on the floor making sure that Carly put it up not to the side, not to the other side, not diagonal, but in the middle, right in the middle of the wall, so it looked good. And when we were done, we were just thanking the Lord that we had got it perfect. When we called Michael down to come see the finished product, it was the big moment I realized how important doing ASP is for these people. He was in tears with a big smile on his face. He was overjoyed at the work and effort that we put into his house. I will never forget that moment. This being my first ASP, I'm so excited for what's to come. I made so many wonderful friendships that I love and cherish, and I'm so excited for more ASPs to come every summer.
Lord, prepare me to be a sanctuary, pure and holy, tried and true. With thanksgiving, I'll be a living sanctuary for you.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Lucas. As an ASP tradition, Bob Evans is the go-to breakfast spot in order to start your week off strong and most likely be the best meal you'll consume in the next 7 days. On Saturday, we drove 10.5 hours to Charlottesville, Virginia, where we spent the night at the local Methodist church. That night, I got maybe 2 hours of sleep, but the good news is we're going to Bob Evans in the morning for breakfast. I have no experience waiting tables, but I can only imagine the kind of attitude I'd be put in if I was told at 9 a.m. that a 32-person group was coming in 15 minutes, and that sure would not be a good mood. When we get there, we met our server named Betty, who loves to talk and loves meeting people even more. She tells us that she has 30 years of experience under her belt, and for her and for us not to worry. And worry we did not, because she did such an incredible job that we decided to come back to the same exact Bob Evans on our way home to Michigan. The hospitality of these kind-hearted Appalachian folks really showed through when we were saying goodbye to Betty for the second time, and she said, "If you're ever in Charlottesville and you need anything, you know I'll be right here serving food at Bob Evans." Each summer, ASP uses a quote from the Bible to shape their year around and to make devotions. As I hope you should know by now, this theme was Be the Peace. This comes from the book 1 Samuel, where David and his army are struggling while on the run from King Saul. David finds himself in a land that is filled abundantly with goats and sheep. This land belongs to a man named Nabal, obviously a man not wondering where his next meal is coming from, unlike David. David asks Nabal to spare him and his army some provisions, but Nabal only laughs and insults David. Once Nabal's wife Abigail caught wind of the situation, she immediately acted and provided the army with plenty of food. This situation ties so tightly with the current crisis of substandard housing. In Appalachia, we were driving down the center to Guyan Valley and had the opportunity to see the beautiful exposed rock faces and the natural mountain rivers. But when you look to the left, you see a home that belongs to a rich businessman perched on the mountainside. But then when you look to the right, you see a trailer using a rotting piece of OSB just to try and keep the cool airs indoor. The gap between housing quality does not just exist in Appalachia. This winter, right here in Kalamazoo, we're going to have families struggling to heat their homes. The mission of the Substandard Housing Ministry here at FUMC is to make that gap smaller. Those families are the Davids, and this church is the Abigail, who will support our ministries with the blessings that we have received. This youth group holds a wide spread of unique individuals that makes this trip one of the best weeks out of my summer. Together, we bring to Appalachia a one-of-a-kind environment due to our craziness, but also our productivity. As you saw in the slideshow, we perform crazy races with people on our backs, but I really do think that we are one of the more extroverted groups that dedicate our week to ASP. The relationships I have built through this church have been some that will last me a lifetime. Me, William, Bobby, and Michael have had the dreamy thoughts of all of us living in the same city when we're older and kick it just like old times. We spent weekends at Bobby's lake house, staying up till 2 a.m. on the beach with a campfire, just talking and getting closer than ever. I would not trade these moments for literally anything in this world because I love these guys with all of my heart. This year during the Cry Circle, it was really tough for me to keep myself together. After a week of an overload of both mental and physical stress, it is difficult to share either your highs or lows without letting emotions get the best of you. In the back of my mind, I could not stop thinking about how two of my best friends, William and Bobby, are leaving for college while I'm stuck finishing my last year of high school. Then there's Michael. Michael and I probably spent more nights of the summer together than separate, and the fact that school is starting back up would restrict the time that we spend together immensely, made me want to stop time and live in these special moments to get forever. Now I knew that these relationships would never be affected by separation, but at the moment of being tired, hungry, and stressed out, it was all I could think of. ASP somehow has this magic of creating memories that will stick with me forever in life. This youth group has not even talked about it yet, about if we want to return to ASP next year or experiment with a new mission trip. But I'll tell you right now, my vote is with ASP. I want to thank each and every one of you for supporting this youth group in ways we can't even imagine. Each year, our apple pies are filled in freezers, but gone in a matter of weeks. Each year, your hard-earned money ends up in my basket, placed in front of my mediocre soup at best. So thank you for all of your unconditional love and support.
So Lucas has already touched upon the heart of this scripture, but just to tease it out a little bit more, this story of peacemaking between David and Nabal is quite interesting. David has reached out and saluted Nabal with "Peace be with you, and peace be to your house, and peace to be to all that you have." But Nabal insults David by refusing to extend hospitality. So David responded harshly and ordered his men to take up swords and attack Nabal. As his men marched, one of Nabal's shepherds came to Nabal's wife, Abigail, and told her about the oncoming army, and that they told her how the oncoming army had actually protected their shepherds out in the wilderness. He also shared that Nabal had answered David's friendliness with rudeness. So Abigail, wife of Nabal, wastes no time in stepping up to restore the peace. She gathers extra food and supplies that her husband has refused to share, and with courage goes out to meet David. When she arrives, she tells David that Nabal has been foolish. She apologizes, and then she prays a blessing upon him. David listens and hears the call of Abigail's peacemaking and decides to call off the attack. Now, isn't it interesting that a woman in ancient Israelite culture who has little to no power beyond her husband took the initiative to be the peacemaker between two powerful men, and she was successful. She may not have had power, but she had influence, and she had courage and the vision to see beyond the unnecessary conflict that had been created by powerful men with all of the resources. I hope that today we have the ears to hear the message that is within this scripture, because it can be readily applied to our own times. Just imagine what would happen, what can happen when resources are shared. Envision what can come out of times of conflict when the powerful choose to listen to those without power, and then act upon what is best for all, rather than just use the opportunity to enrich themselves or their ego. So how would our common life be changed if we were willing to be the peace, like Abigail? The Appalachian Service Project is a wonderful model of shalom in works and in practice. It is a meeting of peoples from different walks of life, but who have resources to share. We shared our resources of tools, vacation time, money, so that shalom could be expressed. The families and the staff of Appalachia provided hospitality, ways and avenues for homes to be made safer, warmer, and drier. All together, we shared shalom by following a carpenter on a dusty path, believing what he said was true, that loving our neighbor as we love God is the kingdom of God. Shalom.
Lord, prepare me to be a sanctuary, pure and holy, tried and true. With thanksgiving, I'll be a living sanctuary for you.
Okay, as you guys know, this past summer we went to West Virginia to help some families in the Appalachian area. We were out there being the peace, and I just want to say thank you to all of you for your generous donations. We couldn't have gone without you, and we couldn't have gone out and helped all those people without the help from all of you. We are planning to go again in the summer of 2020, and we could use your help once again, and any money that you could give would help, so thank you.
When I find myself in times of trouble, Mother Mary comes to me, speaking words of wisdom, let it be. And in my hour of darkness, she is standing right in front of me, speaking words of wisdom, let it be, let it be, let it be, let it be, let it be. Whisper words of wisdom, let it be.
And when the broken-hearted people living in the world agree, there will be an answer, let it be. For though they may be parted, there is still a chance that they will see. There will be an answer, let it be.
Let it let it be. I wake up to the sound of music. Mother Mary comes to me, speaking words of wisdom. Let it be. 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 There will be an answer. Let it be. 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 Whisper words of wisdom. Let it be.
Please join me in our prayer of dedication. O God, through these offerings and the offering of our lives, may your vision of unity and peace for all creation reach out from this faith community into the world around us. May we place all that we have, all that we do, and all that we are in your hands, so that you may use us in your mighty work of recounseling the world. Amen.
I hope that you have heard this team loud and clear in saying thank you for making this experience possible for us. I hope that you know that we carry you with us in our hearts as we go. We know that you are out there praying for us as our prayer partners, and we hope that this morning has allowed you to experience just a little bit of this experience with us. So thank you, and thank you again. The team is going to be out here in the hallway after the postlude, and we hope that you will come and greet us. Please check out all of the announcements in your bulletin and find the many opportunities that we can continue to be the peace in this community. We have celebrated. We have experienced God's love. Let us go out into this world and share God's love and be the peace for all. And all of God's people said, amen. Please let us stand and sing.
Each summer, ASP uses a quote from the Bible to shape their year around and to make devotions. As I hope you should know by now, this theme was Be the Peace. This comes from the book 1 Samuel, where David and his army are struggling while on the run from King Saul. David finds himself in a land that is filled abundantly with goats and sheep. This land belongs to a man named Nabal, obviously a man not wondering where his next meal is coming from, unlike David. David asks Nabal to spare him and his army some provisions, but Nabal only laughs and insults David. Once Nabal's wife Abigail caught wind of the situation, she immediately acted and provided the army with plenty of food. This situation ties so tightly with the current crisis of substandard housing. In Appalachia, we were driving down the center to Guyan Valley and had the opportunity to see the beautiful exposed rock faces and the natural mountain rivers. But when you look to the left, you see a home that belongs to a rich businessman perched on the mountainside. But then when you look to the right, you see a trailer using a rotting piece of OSB just to try and keep the cool airs indoor. The gap between housing quality does not just exist in Appalachia. This winter, right here in Kalamazoo, we're going to have families struggling to heat their homes. The mission of the Substandard Housing Ministry here at FUMC is to make that gap smaller. Those families are the Davids, and this church is the Abigail, who will support our ministries with the blessings that we have received. I want to thank each and every one of you for supporting this youth group in ways we can't even imagine. Each year, our apple pies are filled in freezers, but gone in a matter of weeks. Each year, your hard-earned money ends up in my basket, placed in front of my mediocre soup at best. So thank you for all of your unconditional love and support.